Hello everyone, you're welcome back to the Irish Mommy channel. It's been a miserable few days or even few weeks here. Lashing rain, it seems like it's never stopped raining. We've had a dry morning this morning, of course, when I was at work, and if you see behind me, rain's ready to start again. Anyway, my tomatoes in the greenhouse where I can stay nice and dry are screaming to get out of their pots. If you remember, we multi-sowed my tomato seeds in little 3-inch pots. So I think that was 3 weeks ago now at this stage. They're absolutely screaming to get out, but this happens to me every year. They've got really leggy, lots of sets of true leaves, but we're going to pot them on, and I'm going to show you a little trick that I like to use to help them root out more in their pots. So they're going into these pots today, and well, realistically I won't get them all done today, but when I get done today and tomorrow, maybe Saturday as well, they'll go into those pots and they're going to stay for about 3 to 4 weeks then, so that they'll be planted in the polytunnel at the end of April. And there we are, right on cue, the rain's just started, so time to get in out of it. So I am grateful to have the greenhouse here to keep me dry, but I'll be honest, when the weather is absolutely diabolical outside, even the greenhouse doesn't appeal to me. You'll even hear, like, it's quite windy outside, and the gusts and everything they just make me feel cold, even if I'm not terribly cold. I'm going to check the temperature now. I wonder if I can show you. So I was trying to see if I could show the thermometer that I have here on the camera, but it's stuck in behind the propagator and the camera won't focus on it right because it's just too dark. But it's nearly 20 degrees here in the polytunnel. Now, this dark cloud has only come in the last 20 minutes, so I suppose the sun was shining all day, so it had time to build up the temperature inside. But these tomatoes are going to be very sensitive to the cooler air when they come out of the propagator. So they're going to look really sorry for themselves when they're potted on, and this might shock you, and you might think you've destroyed, if you're doing this yourself, you might think you've destroyed your little seedlings, but they get a bit grumpy when they're taken out of the propagator and potted on, and the leaves go all limp on them, they fall over, and they just don't want to cooperate at all. But give them 3 or 4 days max and they'll be back to themselves, just right as rain. So this happened to me the first year this happened to me. I thought I had destroyed all my plants as well. So just forewarning, if you're new to gardening and this is your first time potting on tomatoes, so obviously, you know, a bit like myself, when you're used to the nice cozy warmth of the house, it's hard to get used to the colder temperatures like me in the greenhouse, even though it is nearly 20 degrees today. It just, when it's miserable outside, nobody wants to go out, and the tomatoes are in the same boat. The peppers will be potted on today. Well, I will be potting on my peppers, not today. I'm not going to say today. I'll be potting on my peppers now as well in the next few days. But I will leave the peppers in the propagator in their potted on pots, if that makes sense. They are definitely extremely sensitive to cooler temperatures, so we don't want to shock them at all. I will keep them at least another 2 weeks in the propagator, but I'll be turning it down gradually over the few days. I think it's set at 22 degrees at the minute, so I'll gradually work it down to about 18 degrees, and that way they'll not get as much of a shock when they come out. The problem I have is that I can't keep them here in this greenhouse because I don't have enough space, and it's not warm enough in this greenhouse either. I know it's nearly 20 degrees at the minute, but we're kind of just early afternoon, well, mid-afternoon, and at night time the temperatures will drop a lot more drastically, so peppers wouldn't be able to tolerate that. So my plan is to reduce their temperature down in the propagator and kind of get them used to a cooler temperature, and then I have to transport them to the other greenhouse up beside the polytunnel, where I have my polytunnel rented. It stays much warmer, and I think I've explained this in a different video. That greenhouse stays much warmer, and so I will transition them over to that, but it's getting them from A to B is the problem. because obviously they have to come outside and hit cold temperatures, so that'll be done as quickly as possible to get them to the car and get them up to the house. But today, for now, we're just doing tomatoes, and like I said, a few little tips and tricks to help get them rooted out better. Obviously the more rooted out they are in their pots, the quicker they'll establish when they're planted in their final planted space or final bed. So yeah, they've got quite leggy, and that's why I do a couple of little tricks because when they're leggy, the stems are really flimsy on them and they flop over and back, and you don't really want that. You want good strong stems. So I'm going to bury these really deep, but bear in mind they're coming out of a 3-inch pot where they're multi-sown, and they're going into another 3-inch pot just on their own. So I have to work a little bit with the stem to try and to bury them down, and you'll see the method I use now in a few minutes. Okay, so I've just taken out the first pot of tomato seedlings. I'm feeling very sorry for my poor tomatoes. Wait till you see the state of these. Now, so there's my original 3-inch pot, and look at them, they're bursting out the top of the propagator. So these are a variety, and these are the tallest ones in the whole thing. So these are a variety called Super Marmont, and I planted 10 seeds. I sowed 10 seeds, so we'll see how many I actually have got out of it. And hard enough to count. You can see they're actually throwing out roots themselves. They're just mad to get rooted in somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I think I've 9 out of 10 germinated there. So that's pretty good germination rate. I'm just checking. They're pretty wet. So when you're going to separate tomato seedlings like this, it's good to have the soil pretty moist. I'm going to give it a slight, it's not too dry, but I'm going to give them a little drop of water just to make the root separation easier. Now obviously if you can get your tomatoes potted on before they get to this stage, it will be better for them in the long run. But this has happened to me. I'd say nearly every year this happens to me, because the weather usually takes a turn for the worst and I can't be arsed getting out into the greenhouse. So we're just going to take it one pot at a time. I can't remember how many pots or different varieties that I have of tomatoes, but I'm going to do what I can today and get them moved up to the other greenhouse, and I'll bring you along and show you the other greenhouse as well. I have taken out my Classman compost. Now Classman are well known. If you're familiar with Classman, they don't differentiate very well in their bag, so it can be a bit of a mystery figuring out which compost is which, because I have 3 different types of compost. I have seed compost, I have potting compost for annuals, and then I have potting compost for herbaceous perennial herbs and herbaceous perennial type plants. So it took a bit of hunting, and the only way you'll know is by the writing on the side. Oh, that's going to be upside down now, but it does say potting on that one, so I'm guessing this is the annual potting compost. I hope I'm right, because the other one says herbs, this one says potting, and the seed compost says tray, so it's all a little bit confusing. But that's what happens when you buy several different types of compost, but you would think at least that they would put it in different coloured bags. However, I'm using potting compost to pot these on. So if you remember, so when I sowed these tomatoes originally, they were sown obviously in seed compost. So now they're starting to get hungrier, they're going into potting compost. And then of course they're only going to be in it for 3 or 4 weeks, so the potting compost should be ample enough feed in it, should have ample enough feed in it for the 3 or 4 weeks that they're going to be into it, in in the compost. They're then of course going into the ground, and of course the soil in your beds should be amended, and I will be adding amendments to the beds in the polytunnel, and I'll show you that when I'm doing it. So I'm going to bring you down here closer so that you can see what I'm doing when I'm potting on these tomato seedlings. So I'm going to use the empty tray here just to empty it out into it. And you can see there's quite a number of little small roots, so we're going to be breaking some of those. It really won't matter. So I'm going to break all the plants apart first, and you do really have to be brutal with these, you just have to pull them. And once they have a little bit of root with them, they'll be fine. You do, if they're got leggy like this, you just need to be more careful with the tops of them because they get tangled in each other and break. So I'm going to take the bottom leaves off these. Now I just pinch them off. You could use the secateurs if you want. Now I'm going to bend this one up like this so they can bury it deeper down in the pot. And in fact, I might just bend the stalk around another little bit. So these, like I said, are Super Marmond is the variety, and I think they're actually, the foliage and the plant itself must be a super plant as well as the fruit, because this would be bigger than I'd have usually dealt with now, to be honest. So I have this stem curved around in the pot. I hope you can see that there. And I'll be trying to keep the stem to the middle of the pot, and then I'm going to be topping it up with the compost. Now, it won't stay there at the minute, but when I put the compost on it, it will. So I'm just going to hold it in place while I put the compost into it. Now, so just to show you closer up what the plant now looks like when it's buried down deep in the pot. And all the stalk that's underneath the soil will start to throw out roots, and like you can see that tomatoes absolutely love to throw out roots. If they get anywhere stressed at all, they throw out roots. Like these were throwing out roots just because they were flopped over and hitting soil. So they were throwing out roots without even being buried in the soil. Okay, so I have the two varieties potted up there. I got 11 out of 15 germinated on my Amish paste as well, so that's 11 and 9. That's 20 tomato plants potted on and ready to be moved. Now you can see, I want to just show you how sorry for themselves these plants are. See that one there? So it's rather limp. Its leaves are all curling inwards and they feel really, you know, floppy and not like they don't have much energy. That's the way they go. They just don't like being moved. So I always find when the tomatoes are potted on, they feel very sorry for themselves. What I will do is I'll take a picture of these. So today's Thursday and I hope to get this video up tonight. I'll take a picture of these on Sunday and show you the difference in them, because they just completely come back to life. Now I haven't watered these yet either, because I'm putting them in the car. I want to wait and water them when I get there, and I will bring you along for that as well and show you the space where they're going. I'm not sure if you can see from the glare here in the greenhouse, the sun has actually appeared again, so it absolutely lashed for about 15 or 20 minutes. soaked to the ground, and then the sun came back out again. So I'm delighted to see the sun for the afternoon. So I'm going to get these moved up. Before I take them out of the greenhouse, I'm actually going to put fleece over them, and I will use that fleece in the greenhouse for a day or two as well, just to help transition them over to the other greenhouse. So they've already came from the propagator, which actually, while it was set at 22 degrees, the temperature in it with the sun out and everything today was actually at 30 degrees. So the plants came out to the greenhouse then, which was just under 20 degrees, about 18-19 degrees. And then outside, of course, I'd say if it's 10 degrees maximum, it'd be the height of it. Maybe 12 at a push, but I doubt it. So from 30 degrees to 12 would be quite a big drastic change in temperature. They definitely wouldn't like that. And while they probably would bounce back from it, I don't want to risk it any further, because they're already sad enough without making them any worse. So they'll get their nice wee blanket on them and into the car, and then up to the greenhouse. So that's it, that's the tomatoes tucked up and ready for bed. And I'll leave them like that for maybe 2 days, and come and take it off them then, depending on what the forecast is given. But I don't think we have any particularly cold nights coming up in the forecast. So after the 2 days, I'll take the fleece off them, and hopefully by then they'll have perked up a bit. After that then, the fleece will go back on any night that it's given cold temperatures, so anything under 5 degrees outdoor temperatures, I'll be putting the fleece on them just to protect them, even though, like, obviously this is a perspex kind of lean-to, so it probably won't get too cold, but at the same time I don't want to take any chances. So any temperatures, any nighttime temperatures of less than 5 degrees, I'll put the fleece on them just to be safe. So that's it for today's video. Hit the thumbs up button down below if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.